Hello and welcome back to Starting Six, a volleyball podcast with Haley and Liv. We are back and on National Volleyball Day.
Yes, what better day to record?
And we didn't even plan that. I didn't even know, to be honest, until maybe it was like early this morning when I saw some tweets. I was like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Perfect. We're out of the loop now that we don't play.
Literally.
Yay, so exciting though. So we thought that we would kick this episode off just doing a little fun like Thanksgiving style, what are you thankful for, but volleyball edition. So we have a couple episodes that we go a little more in depth about it, especially like our first ever episode, so you can go ahead and check that one out. But I just thought it would be fun to touch on a couple of things that we're thankful for because volleyball was and is such a big part of our life. So I don't know if you want to ping pong or if you just want to hit yours quick and I'll hit mine, or doesn't matter.
Let's ping pong.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Sure. Well, I have to say the first thing I'm thankful for from volleyball is that it brought us this podcast and our friendship together. I mean, without volleyball, I don't think we would have been friends, to be completely honest. We wouldn't
Probably
have,
not.
if neither of us played, I don't think we would have hung out necessarily in the same crowd, or if one of us played and one didn't, Gen Pop didn't really intermix with the athletes very much. So very grateful for that. That's my number one right now.
Yeah, I agree. I had the same one. And also just kind of our friend group in general. I think that we've talked about and been open about the fact that a big reason that I went to Platteville, you went to Platteville, I know Taylor went to Platteville, probably Jesse went to Platteville, is to play volleyball there. Obviously the campus is our favorite, like we love it. And there were so many other perks to going to Platteville, but a big thing was that we were being recruited to play volleyball there. So it is kind of crazy to think about, like, if I hadn't, wanted to go there, or I didn't want to play volleyball in college, like I wouldn't have any of you. And that's a scary thought for me. Like, I don't know where I would be like without my like core group.
Yeah.
And so, I think like the women that I've kind of met along the way, I always talk about my club team too. I think, like meeting girls and creating such a bond like that when you're so young, and being able to continue it is a really, really special thing. And, I spend a lot of time being grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something else that I'm grateful for from volleyball is how, I've been able to share like my passion for it with my mom and my sister and even my brothers. We, like, my whole family plays volleyball like in the backyard and stuff, and we always have a great time and bond over that really well. And so I think it is the one sport I could say that we like bond the most of, my family as a whole, but especially my sister and my mom. I made my mom play when she was in high school. She introduced me and Lauren to it, and then Lauren playing, and I always looked up to her, and it brought us close in a lot of ways. It kind of, I think, created our tension at times, but that's just a sister thing. But because of it, it made us closer, and it's still something that we connect on every day. And we play together now, which is really fun, that we never had the opportunity to play like in high school together or anything like that. So now being able to play, reverse fours or doubles or things like that, it's really fun. And being able to like play on family vacations, like playing beach volleyball, and we're the team to beat, like it's one of my favorite things and my favorite memories. So it's definitely a sport that has brought a lot of memories with my family, and really fond ones, and has just brought us a lot closer.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I like some of my favorite times too. And like, I think there was a lot of times that I thought that maybe volleyball just like wasn't what I needed at certain points in my life. And it was really, there were a lot of times it was making me really unhappy. And I had kind of an unhealthy relationship with it. And there were a lot of those kind of days where my sister and I would just go out in the yard and pepper with each other. And we were just like wailing on each other, like, and making each other better. And, those kind of things are really important. We talk about it all the time. Like when we're home, we're like, God, we got to get in the yard. Like we should pepper. And She coaches now and everything. So yeah, I agree. I'm there with you. I also put down like, it sounds kind of cliche, but I feel like being a few years into like my professional career now, I think that volleyball really shaped me to be a good like employee, which like sounds kind of crazy. But I've worked really hard to get to where I am in my career, and I think a lot of it was laid like a foundation kind of when I was playing volleyball. So like time management, dealing with the highs, dealing with the lows, dedicating yourself to something, sacrificing for something. And in the moment, you know, while I was playing, I didn't really feel that.
Yeah.
I guess like to me, I was like playing a game. And it felt like life or death if I was on the court or not and whatever. But to be out of it and look back at all these kind of life skills that it gave me is really kind of crazy and really special. And I don't take those for granted either. I think being a few years removed from it, I can look back and kind of say, like, wow, that this skill I have or this thing that I bring to my team in my professional life is because I played volleyball. You know, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And I think it taught me how to have a lot of difficult conversations, being in leadership positions a lot of times on the volleyball team. They're not fun, and having to do them when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, like that's hard. And with a bunch of hormonal girls, like it's not an easy thing to do. And then trying to still remain friends and neutral and teammates, and even having those hard conversations with coaches, like you're emotional and having to have adult conversations in that moment, I think really helped me in my professional career, like have those and be able to set boundaries too in that. And I am very grateful. And I think every student athlete is very grateful for their time as a student athlete in looking, when you're in the workforce, looking back at it, like you said, you learn so many life skills that you didn't even know, and it puts you way above everyone else. No offense to people who didn't play sports in college, like I'm sure you're great, but I have a lot of siblings and friends and other people that I just know who were college athletes and understand the time management, the dedication, the perseverance that you have to take, the highs and lows, like you mentioned, and it really puts you up for success. And I think right away, I think a lot of people who maybe didn't play sports in college kind of find that a little bit later in their careers. But I think college athletes definitely have a leg up, not just for volleyball, but in general. So that's something too that I'm very grateful for.
Yeah. Sticking on the career path, my last kind of one I'll touch on is I think that I kind of owe my career in sports to being an athlete. I think that for a lot of people, regardless if you played sports or not, like working in sports is a lot of people's dreams. And I think that being a fan of sports, like I could name the exact moment that I had that I knew was like, I got to do this forever. And I was just being a fan. But then to also have the other side of knowing how it feels to be an athlete and the hole that it kind of left when I retired was like, I just knew that there was nothing else I could do to fill that hole besides try to find a way to be around what sports means and what it stands for and what it brings to people for the rest of my life. I just think it's so special how so many people of different colors, different sizes, different backgrounds, different incomes, whatever the case may be, different teams even come together to enjoy a few hours of a game, and how so many people, their lives kind of like revolve around it, and they're happy when it's volleyball season or hockey season or football season or whatever the case may be. People bond over it. They learn from it. They experience those kind of highs and lows that we experience as athletes, as fans. And I just think that there's something so special in that. And I think that I knew right away I had to figure out a way to have this for the rest of my life. So to be working in sports, I think that I owe a lot of that to knowing how it feels to be a fan, but also how it feels to be in the middle of it and how special that really is.
Yeah, definitely. I can't relate, but I'm sure it's a great feeling. But thank you, volleyball. You have brought so much to us. I remember our senior year of college, we did a Dear Volleyball like letter, and it was the most emotional thing I have ever done. And you could probably find that on the UW Platteville volleyball page somewhere in the archives.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn even more about us and our emotions, go find it there.
I still can't watch that video.
No, I was like, I'm fine, I won't cry. I was the last to go after hearing like you and Lita and Ashley, and I'm like, crap, I was crying at you guys, and then I looked at my paper and I was like, I can't, like,
No, I cried the entirety of it. I cry when I watch it. I have not read it, like the actual letter typed up. Like I won't go anywhere near that thing because it will destroy me again.
Yeah.
I'm glad I have it. Like that was a thing we did, but I can't watch it.
Yes.
Yay. Okay, that was cute. I'm happy we did a little volleyball, sentimental moment. It is a special game and it's exciting to see it touch so many people. I feel like it wasn't like that when we were in college. So to have that, be happening right in front of us is super special. And we don't take it for granted, that's for sure.
Nope, not at all.
All right, now with that being said, let's rip into some teams here because we have a lot to talk about. We should preface this episode by saying that this was supposed to be like the week
literally
of volleyball so far.
The week.
Huge matchups, tons of them on the main networks. I mean, this was supposed to be everything.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a nothing sandwich.
Literally, underwhelmed is an understatement. Like,
yes.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even get excited watching the games.
No, yeah, it was a tad bit of a disappointment. So we're going to get into that a little bit because big things did happen, just not in a way that was like overly memorable, I guess you could say. So, okay, let's kick it off. We're going to start with number 18, Florida State versus number 16, Florida. Again, I want to say that these are last week's rankings, not the new ones that came out today. So yeah, Florida State versus Florida. We have a little in-state battle. This one ended up being a 5-set thriller. I watched actually a good chunk of this game, and I've always liked Florida State. Like, I think they've always been pretty good. Kind of dark horsey kind of vibes. But I was happy to see the Gators pull out this win because I just think they needed it.
Yeah.
The couple other things too I noticed, like the Gators held Florida State to really low hitting percentages, which I think is kind of crazy. Florida doesn't really do that.
No, Florida usually has their own super high hitting percentages, but also I feel like their teams that they play also have high hitting percentage. When I think of Florida, I don't think of a huge blocking team. I think more of like the powerhouse kills. But I think it was really that's what Florida needed. I mean, Florida State, they had Taylor had a transfer from Arkansas, who was one of Arkansas's top players. So I think that's really helpful for Florida State to have that powerhouse there, and they kept her to 10 kills. I mean, in a 5-set match, that's super low for a main outside. So, and then 100%. Their next hitter, they was only hitting 100 hitting percentage. So, I mean, I think Florida did a really good job with that, and I think having Kennedy Martin back really boosted the morale for Florida, and knowing that, because Alexis Stuckey didn't play in that game, correct?
No, yeah, she didn't.
But I think knowing that she was coming back the next game, I think kind of boosted their confidence a little bit and their team's morale, knowing that their team is kind of going to be back in action.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I thought too. I actually kind of wrote that down. I think that this was kind of it boosted the momentum forward for Alexis Stuckey's return on Sunday. And I think that this might have been kind of like the spark Florida needed to kind of turn the season around a little bit. And I'm not saying that that's just reliant on Alexis Stuckey, but I think they've just experienced more lows than highs the past year or so. And so it was nice to see her back. I saw that she was SEC Player of the week and setter of the week, which I thought was so cute. Just with her being back and everything. And then I watched her post-game interview. She was so happy and excited, and she's like, I'm just happy to be out there with my teammates. I'm happy to be a volleyball player again. And I just think this is like a really positive change for Florida.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think they'll be running on this high for a while. I mean, coming from personal experience, coming back from an injury, it really does boost the morale. Pretty much for the entire season. No matter what she does, like it's gonna be like, oh my God, amazing, just because she was out with a serious injury for so long. So I'm happy that she's back. I think we're gonna see a lot more improvement from Florida moving forward now that they have a full healthy team.
Yeah, I agree. So I was happy to see this. Obviously, everyone loves like an in-state rivalry. I'm sure this was a huge deal for both schools. So I don't think like this is gonna hurt Florida State that much overall, to tell you the truth, but I'm sure that from like an in-state rival thing, it was probably would have been nice. But again, happy for Florida, and I'm excited to watch Alexis Stuckey on her return. I saw a couple highlights when she was jump setting, when she was blocking. You could tell she's kind of leaning a little bit more onto her left leg, which I think is probably totally normal. You would probably know more than me, but I did notice that a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see her kind of get back into her comfort zone a little bit. I also heard her say in her post-game interview that her teammates made the offense really easy for her. So they were, I mean, their serve receive was doing well. Their defense was doing well, getting her balls that she wasn't, going crazy and running all around for. So I think that's a really good like team boost as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yay, exciting. Okay, let's talk about the first disappointment of Wednesday. Number 1 Pitt versus number 3 Penn State. My notes say brooms, brooms, brooms. Holy shit.
I had really high hopes for this game too.
Liv, when I tell you, I hustled home, I shoved dinner down my throat, I showered, I got in my comfies, and I snuggled up on the couch, and I was so excited to watch some great volleyball.
It was not great volleyball.
Not even a little bit, actually. Like, I was like, what are we watching?
No. Penn State couldn't pass a ball for their life.
Yeah, I know.
We got like 5th graders out there.
Yeah, I know. It was bad. And I actually do think, I think their service team struggled a lot, which makes the rest of your game struggle a lot. However, I also think that the atmosphere in Pitt's gym was like actually like insanity. Yeah. I think it's usually when we're watching a game, they mic the nets, and then you obviously can hear a little bit of the arena. I'm sure not to what it is in person, and they're not even close really, because we've been in the field house and we've watched Wisconsin games in the field house, and it's not the same. But when you're watching as a viewer on TV, you can hear the crowd, you can hear the cheers. I have never watched a stream where I could hear the fans as clearly as I could hear in Pitt's gym. I told my mom that I was like, this is the loudest stream I've ever listened to. I don't know if that was a technical thing on Pitt's part or if it was genuinely that loud. Yeah. But I think Penn State struggled a lot because of the atmosphere from Pitt's fans.
Yeah. And I mean, Penn State's pretty, I feel like, used to having, because the rec hall, it's small. It's a small gym that they play in. So it's like the field house or even Purdue, like they're just like right on top of you. But I feel like Pitt just seemed a lot bigger and more crowded. And so I think although Penn State is used to the crowds and like the noise level and stuff like that, it was just on another extreme. But like my notes from Pitt were, it literally says crazy blocking and dominant the entire time. Like, yes, Pitt did not let up at all. They had crazy defense from the net to the back row. Their littles were doing amazing. Like, they did nothing wrong. And it shows in the scores. Yeah, 25-19, 25-18. But, I mean, they did a great job shutting down Jess Merzick. And once she's out, Penn State's kind of screwed.
Yeah, I just looked. Penn State's attendance record was 11,800, which was their new attendance record. They were sold out for this game, which I think is fantastic. And then the other thing, what was I going to say? the Tori Stafford on the outside, Olivia Babcock on the opposite duo is probably the scariest pin duo in college volleyball.
It's insane.
Tori Stafford had 17 kills hitting over 500. She's hitting a 552. And Olivia Babcock had 15 kills hitting a 225. This is terrifying. Like that's tough. And I think we talk a lot about the struggles that teams have in spreading the wealth, right? Like you get a Maddie Skinner, you get maybe a Harper Murray, you get a Sarah Franklin, and it's easy to rely on them to get up 30 kills, 25 kills, you know. You rely a lot on them. They take a majority of your swings. So to have your two best players, one being an outside and one being an opposite, your middles could be totally not even there, and you're spreading the wealth enough to just dominate teams like Penn State. I mean, this duo is going to lead them to a national championship. Like, it's that crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, I think having such big dominant players on both pins at the same time, or in the same rotations at least half the time, it really screws up the other team's blocking. And I think that's what happened for Penn State. Their middles can't close. They have a solo block with their pins, and then it leaves huge gaps for the defense to pick up. And I think that it just kind of all fell apart, unfortunately, for Penn State. And I think a lot of it started with their serve and pass. Their passing wasn't great, so they couldn't get in system to set anyone other than Jess. And then on the flip side, their defense was scrambling. Like, they just kind of looked like chickens with their heads cut off, because Pitt was just so dominant and so fast, and like they didn't skip a beat at all.
No. Yeah, it was scary. Like they were a well-oiled machine when they were playing. And to have so many assets the way that Pitt does, and to be playing such in rhythm like that, they're going to be almost impossible to stop.
Yeah.
Like, you're watching this and you're going, this is why Pitt is the number one team in the nation.
Yeah.
Right here. And then they also played again, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. And after that match, they now have had 7 straight sweeps.
Yeah.
So that's going to be scary. I know a lot of fans are anticipating a Pitt Nebraska face-off, which I don't think we'll get until like the posts. I mean, I'm thinking
I don't think they're
I don't think they play, because conference play is starting soon.
True. Yeah, next week. This week. I think everyone's next games. Yeah, I think everyone's next games are conference. So yeah, it won't be till the postseason. Watch, they're gonna face each other like Sweet 16 or something, and knock one of them out.
They better not. They're
gonna throw that shit again, where they put all the good teams on the same side, and then we're gonna have just easy teams, unranked teams the whole year coming through.
And then we're gonna have year 3 of a sweep in the national championship.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Sad Penn State. First disappointment. Let's move on to the next disappointment. Number 2 Stanford versus number 5 Nebraska. Oh my gosh, I think I have to sneeze. Hold on. Okay. Pass. Okay, Nebraska swept Stanford. Oh my god, wait. Maybe I do I can't tell. Okay. All right. Yes, Nebraska sweep Stanford. Now, after the Penn State Pitt debacle started, because this game started an hour later.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, you know what? Bummer. Really looking forward to that. This one's going to be it, because Stanford has been playing out of their minds. They've been so much fun to watch. Like, I want a team to go in and really challenge Nebraska, like maybe even humble them.
Yeah.
That did not happen.
No. Nebraska laughed at Stanford.
Oh my god, they were laughing, actually.
Like, just literally laughing in their faces. Like, 25-14. Come on. Like, come on.
Yeah, and that was like
that intimidating. Like, Harper Murray is like a twig, you know, like, they're not, like, just looking at them, no offense, they're all gorgeous women, but like, you're not intimidating to be like instantly scared of like, oh my god. Yeah, when you see them play, yes, but I mean, I don't know if it was the atmosphere or the travel or what, but Stanford looked horrible.
Yeah, they did. They looked really bad. And I think I think that the other flip side to that too, though, is like, yes, Stanford did not play the way they usually do, but holy crap, Nebraska was in full control of this match.
Yeah.
I've never seen them play like this ever. Like even last year, I've never seen this kind of volleyball from Nebraska. I'm talking like, I think they had said that their first ball side out, which for anyone who doesn't know what that means, it means that when the other team is serving at you, a first ball side out would be the first serve that you get the point, you get the ball back. That's a first ball side out. I think that their first ball side out efficiency was in this like 70 percentile.
Yeah.
Like they were, I mean, just full control. Their defense was in control. Their offense was in control. I've never seen them play like this before. It was honestly like hard not to like admire them. And like, to me, that's what Nebraska volleyball should always look like. But the other thing that's really scary about that is that this team is so young. The core of this team is so young that this is what they're going to look like when they're senior. Like they're going to play like that all the time.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, I think it will be interesting though to see the dynamic of the team from this year to next year, just like kind of looking to the future, because they're losing Merritt Beeson and Lexi Rodriguez. They're two that are always on the court and the two captains. And really, I think the two that have shaped their culture to be what it is and that shape them to be so dominant. And so it'll be interesting to see, although it's going to be the same core group of girls, they're losing really key players the remainder of the years. So it'll be interesting to see who fills those spots. Because right now I can't tell who fills that role. And how they're going to fill it. I obviously won't be the same, but I'm curious who those are going to be. But I mean, with watching Nebraska, everyone was on. There was not a single player that looked nervous or timid or anything, and they really did spread the wealth. I thought Bergen Riley did a great job. I mean, when their middles are hitting, have more kills than their outsides and their pins. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, Andy Jackson she is getting gypped with these like AVCA National Player of the Year watch list. Like she should be number one. Like, I don't know why she's not getting more credit, because she is doing amazing work and she is hyping up the entire team. I mean, she is hitting over 600 almost every single game.
I know. I agree. I think that like we were talking about with Pitt spreading the wealth, Nebraska has endless weapons to spread the wealth with, and they do a really good job of that. I think like there was a point in the match where Harper Murray only had like 6 kills or something, and Merritt had 6, and Andy had like 8, and Becca had like 4, and Lindsay had 4. Like when you're looking at it in the overall scope of things, you're like, oh, 6 kills, like not a lot. But when you look at the fact that this player had 6, this player had 6, this player had 4, this player had 8, like that's showing you how you spread the wealth, and that's how you mess up blockers. Stanford's blockers could not figure it out. You could see it in their feet, and you could see it in their head, like the movement, their eyes. They didn't know where Bergen Riley was going to go.
Yeah.
Because they had so many options. It's not like a Jess Music or a Maddie Skinner where you're like, she's hot, she's the go-to, they're going to her, crucial moment, they're going to her. Nebraska, they don't have that, and that's what makes them so special and so hard to play against.
Yeah. Well, I think that on the flip side, I think that's why Stanford didn't do as well as we thought, because Nebraska honed in on Elia Rubin. They knew they were going to her. They knew that was their player, and she was hitting 0.63. Like, not great for your main person. They had huge blocks against them and making Nebraska was making Stanford have low hitting percentages all across the board and a crazy amount of unforced errors. I mean, Stanford was just making all the mistakes no matter what, but that was because of Nebraska's discipline in all aspects of the game. And so I think that really hones in onto their culture and what they've been doing in practice and not at games, to really strengthen that culture when it does come to game time.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a really great point. I think the discipline in Nebraska was here.
Yeah.
I think they had a rough start to the year with the Harper Murray drama of it all. I think they've had a hard time kind of figuring out how maybe Taylor Landfair fits into this, or who's going to be my core, because John Cook likes to have a core. He likes to have a consistent starting lineup. He likes to have consistent subs. When he's throwing in girls that don't typically play, like, you know that something is kind of off.
Yeah.
So I think that them trying to figure that out a little bit in the beginning, I think we saw them stutter just a tiny bit. If Nebraska plays like this for the rest of the year, they will be simply unstoppable. And I genuinely think that if Nebraska were to face Pitt, and this is how Nebraska was playing, and that's how Pitt was playing, they're going to have a bigger arena than wherever the hell this national championship is taking place, because they're not going to be able to fit the amount of people who are going to want to see that into a state. I mean, they're going to have to go back to a football field for the amount of people who are going to want to see that. This is clean college volleyball. I was in awe of Nebraska. Disappointed that this wasn't more of a match, but I was in just like complete awe.
Yeah, definitely. It was amazing.
I did feel bad. Cami Minor seemed like she was really struggling. I mean, her team could not pass. The digs, I mean, she was everywhere. I felt so bad for her. I can imagine that's a really hard thing, because she can't get good balls to her hitters if she's not getting good balls from her defense, and the defense can't dig if the blockers aren't helping. I mean, it was just it's such a trickle effect, and Stanford just simply could not figure it out.
Yeah. It was definitely a bummer after like 2 great games that were supposed to be back to back. Just I was like, okay, I'm going to bed now. Like I don't need to watch anymore.
I did too. I also just want to say the NCAA posted some statistics about this match that I thought were really interesting. So this was Nebraska's first sweep over a top 2 team at home in program history. I didn't know they had any records left to break like that, to tell you the truth. This was their first sweep over Stanford since August of 2008.
Oh, wow.
And this was their first sweep over an AVCA top 2 team since September of 2017. So it was a really big night for them. And they deserved every second of it. I, as a Wisconsin, I can't even sit here and be like, oh, Nebraska. Like, no, like there's no judgment here at all. Like that was some of the cleanest college volleyball I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. Good job, Nebraska. Way to pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's kick it over. We'll take a break from Nebraska and then we'll come back. Let's kick it over to number 6 Purdue versus number 9 Creighton. So Purdue suffered 2 back-to-back, literally back-to-back nights, 4-set losses.
Yeah,
I did not see this coming.
Wait, Creighton did, or are you saying Purdue?
Purdue.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Creighton for a second. I
might have. I'm sorry. Purdue. I'm sorry. Purdue suffered 2 back-to-back losses. Literally, they played Friday and Saturday. Yeah. And Purdue lost to Kansas in 4, and then lost to Creighton in 4. And I was really shook by this.
Yeah. I literally texted Haley. I was like, just when we were hyping out Purdue. Like, we gotta shut our mouths.
No, maybe
because everyone just does the opposite of what we tell them to do, or praise them for doing.
No, literally.
Come on.
I also saw Purdue posted, while we're on the topic. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. So the Purdue versus Indiana game, which is Saturday, October 19th in the Mackey Arena, is sold out. And the Purdue versus Wisconsin game, which is Saturday, October 26th in the Mackey Arena, sold out. Now, the Mackey is like their big arena. It's not where they usually play. So it's it says 14,876 people.
Wow.
That's going to be crazy.
God.
Okay, anyways,
like,
back to this game.
Purdue will just like show up randomly, like on those big nights, they'll show up, right? But Kansas is a top 10 ranked team at the time. You didn't really show up for that. Like, yeah, they took them to 4, but then you also lost to Creighton again in 4, I think, or a sweep. I don't remember. But like in that game, they'll show up and it'll be a sweep or something like that. I feel like it's
Purdue's
when
a
the
home
eyes
court
are
team.
on them, when they have the spotlight, when the eyes are on them, is when they show up and play phenomenal. But when they're just like in the background, it's like, we can kind of do whatever. No one's really gonna care.
They're a home court team. Purdue
Yeah.
plays well at home. Purdue is not an on the road team. Nebraska is not an on the road team either. So I thought I will be eating those words shortly. However, that's the nature of these teams. Nebraska is at home in the Bob. They're comforted there. The fans are there for them. They know what it means to play there. They know what it means for these people to be there, and they thrive on it. And Purdue is the same way. Purdue struggles on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, I will say on a positive note for Purdue, Eva Hudson and Chloe Chicoine and Rachel Coven, like they're carrying this team.
Yeah.
Especially Eva and Chloe because they're outsides. But I think it kind of also speaks to why Creighton had success. I was looking, and I was, again, on this topic of spreading the wealth. I was trying to see what Creighton did versus what Purdue did. So Creighton had hitters that had 15 kills, 15 kills, 10 kills, 10 kills, 8 kills. And Purdue had a hitter, Eva, with 19, Chloe with 14, Raven with 8. So you had 4 hitters with 10 plus kills for Creighton and 2 hitters with 10 plus kills for Purdue. And I think that's kind of where, yes, Ava Hudson having 19 kills is massive. And when you compare it to one of Creighton's outsides having 15 kills, you're like, oh, well, Eva did better. But Purdue found success by having this hitter had 15, this hitter had 15, this hitter had 10, this hitter had 10. That's how you find success. And I think that I would imagine that any blocker, and Purdue's blocker in this case, struggled.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't help when everyone knows Purdue's, playbook. Go to Eva, go to Chloe, go to Ray. Like, it's clockwork at this point, and there's not really any change in that. Even when Eva and Chloe are in the back row, it's to them every time. And so, I mean, they are great players, and I think Eva has gotten better about her shots and being more smart on the court and seeing what's open. But I mean, when she was a freshman, she would just wail at the ball at anything and everything. And I think she still at times does that, but she's learning a little bit more. And I think at times Chloe, she's a year younger. She's a sophomore, right? I believe.
Yes.
And I think she still kind of struggles with that at times, where she just wants to wails. And she's a short outside too. So like it's hard when they know that the ball's coming to you. I mean, I've experienced it. It is hard to get around the block. You have to be crafty. You have to use the block. But there's times when the block is just too good. And even when you try to hit off the hands, it just goes down. And I think at times Chloe struggles often with that because of her height and a little bit because of her age. But I think overall they do good with what they have, right? I mean, they put up big numbers, but also they have thousands of attempts. So like they kind of have to in a way. But I think that's always going to be Purdue's like kryptonite in a way, that they don't have a lot of other strong hitters in the middle and on the right side.
I agree. It's kind of like the Texas curse a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with Purdue. I am really looking forward to seeing them in conference play. I think this is going to be a big year for them, and I'm excited to see them challenge teams like Penn State, teams like Purdue, even teams like I'm excited to see them kind of go up against Oregon and some of these new Big Ten teams. So I'm looking forward to seeing them in conference play.
Yeah.
And I haven't said that before. So okay, really quick, let's touch on number 25 Arkansas losing to unranked Miami. If you remember last week, they were ranked 20. Now they're unranked and defeating ranked teams again. Miami has become my new Arizona State.
Yeah. It's funny because Miami's mascot is a hurricane or whatever, and that's literally what they're doing. Like, they just so unpredictable. Some days they'll storm through and sweep, and other days they'll just trickle down and fall over to the next opponent. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen with them, and I don't think they know what's gonna happen either. Like, I think they're just as shocked as the spectators when they pull out sweeps against ranked opponents or when they get swept against unranked opponents and stuff like that. I don't know if they know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I almost feel like they kind of go into matches of just being like, let's play volleyball and see what happens. And but I will say like we've been talking about, Miami spread the wealth. They stayed in control. And I think Arkansas is really struggling without Taylor Heed. Like you had mentioned, she transferred. And I think they're trying to find their footing a little bit because typically Arkansas is kind of in that middle of the pack in the top 25. And this year they're kind of going in and out a little bit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Miami swept and then they managed to squeeze their way back into the top 25 for this week's, which just came out this afternoon. Mm-hmm. So Miami might be the most inconsistent team in college volleyball, but it doesn't really seem like they're going anywhere.
No.
I'm just like intrigued by them. I don't know what it is. Like, I wonder how the postseason might treat Miami. Like, I don't know. I'm just intrigued by them.
I know. I'll be curious how they do in conference. I mean, I think they'll do well in conference. But I also don't know how, because are they in the SEC? No.
I don't think so. Let me look.
No, I can't remember. I was going to say, I don't know how strong their conference is. So I think they do pretty well.
They're in the ACC.
Oh, they are. Oh, never mind. I swallow my words.
Yeah, they're gonna get stomped on in the ACC.
Never mind, I take it back. But somehow they always come out of conference and make it into the tournament.
The ACC and the Big Ten each have 7 teams in the top 25 right now.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, that's wild, including Miami. So.
Yep.
We'll see. I'm intrigued. Yeah, Hurricanes. That's the best way to put it right there, Liv. That's a good call. All right, let's round out our 6 games with number 5 Nebraska versus number 4 Louisville. This game was at Louisville, so I thought that this wouldn't be a repeat of Stanford because Nebraska does sometimes stutter a little bit on the road. And I would imagine that the KFC Yum Center is a very hard place to play. It's similar to the Bob. It has that kind of a big arena feel. They do like pyrotechnics for their warm out and like all kinds of crazy shit. And Louisville fans are really dedicated. So I thought this might be a little closer because it's on the road. I was wrong.
Oh, yeah, you were wrong.
I learned my lesson to never give Louisville the benefit of the doubt, ever.
No, they're really, and the past, let's say, 2 years, so we're going on year 3, Louisville's really pissed me off. Like, everything about their playing and their circumstances that they're in and everything just pisses me off. That's all I have to say. Like, and this pissed me off.
Yeah, I like to think that Louisville is kind of one of those teams that like you said with Purdue, in big moments, they show up, right? They understand the importance of playing with a team like Nebraska. They understand the importance of beating a team like Nebraska. So for them to just absolutely shit the bed was insane. And this, to me, is not a situation where you can say Nebraska just played Nebraska volleyball, because they did. They looked exactly like they did when they played Stanford. However, Louisville played so horribly that you almost can't give Nebraska that much credit.
No.
It was like, it was so hard to watch. There was, who was serving? Lindsay Krause was serving. Yes. I don't remember what set it was. and Anna DeBeer was in middle back, and Charity Looper was on her left. 4 balls, 3 aces, right to them. One went off Anna DeBeer, like she couldn't decide if it was in or out. 2 dropped right in between her and Charity. I was like, what am I watching? What am I watching?
Mm-hmm.
I just I couldn't believe it. This isn't how Louisville plays, and it's not how Louisville plays against teams like Nebraska. But when you're looking at this team, how would this team ever get back to the national championship?
Yeah.
I just I don't understand. I don't understand what happened, because it was a train wreck. And I feel like coach, I think her name is Danny Busboom Kelly is her name. She just looked like I don't know what to do.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do. Like, yeah, you can put people in for subs, but are they your best players? Are they going to win you the points? I don't know. They might look a little happier out there, but it seemed like there was no life to Louisville. And I feel like I've said that before, maybe last year, but I feel like Louisville goes through these spurts where they are so down, like no one has any juice. Like even when they were getting kills and stuff, it was just like, thank God. Like, thank God we got the point and stopped their run. But it wasn't like excitement that this person did a great job. It was like, thank God that we're out of that. And like you said, I mean, the serve and pass was everything. And Nebraska they were just toying with them at that point. It was horrible. And I mean, there's not really much else to say. Like, it was just not good. And Louisville has done this often. I mean, they beat Kentucky, who was number 11 at the time, in 4. They beat Creighton, who was number 9, in 5. They beat Tennessee, who was 15, in 3. They beat Wisconsin, who was number 3 at the time, in 4. Then they lose. They get swept to Penn State, and then they get swept by Nebraska. Like, those are still all great teams, but how can you put up great numbers even when you're, like, winning? You're winning in 4, you're winning in 3 against good teams, and then Nebraska and Penn State, they're very comparable to those other teams. Maybe Nebraska's a little bit higher than the rest, but then you just like cower in the corner. Like, that's not what Louisville should be doing. You are number 4 for the 3rd week in a row. You should be able to fight against this team. You are in your hometown. You have a great attendance. You have your attendance record. The commentators were talking all about how Anna DeBeer is like a hometown girl. This is where she wanted to go her whole life, blah, 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 blah. And I get there's pressure, and I get sometimes you don't have great games, but like, you got to pull something. You got to muster something up because you are the team. Unfortunately, like, you are the team and everyone looks to you. And so when you're not having a good game, no one's having a good game. No.
And my mom actually said that word for word. When Anna DeBeer is on, the team follows her, and when she's off, the team follows her. And I think that that's way too much pressure to put on one player. I think actually my cousin kind of said something similar when she was talking to me about Texas. She said the same thing. She's like, they rely too much on Maddie Skinner. Yeah. She's like, it's killing her. And I think it's the same thing. There's a lot of times when I'm watching the game where commentators will say, look at Anna DeBeer. She looks so poised. She looks so in control. And I'm like, she looks miserable. She looks miserable. I mean, this girl doesn't smile. She doesn't cheer, like, because I think she feels that weight. And I don't like watching it. Like, I really don't. I don't like seeing it on her face. I don't like watching it on, like, you can tell how much they rely on her when she's in the back row, when she's in the front row, and when they take her off the court completely to try to fix things, they crumble. Yeah. And it's scary. And it's also scary for not only for Anna DeBeer and like her mental and physical well-being, but also for the future of this program. Like, she's done after this year. So it's a scary thing to watch Louisville not be able to branch out from Anna DeBeer. And I think she's a phenomenal player. I think she's made an incredible name for herself, and she has really helped Louisville be where they're at today. Way too much pressure on this girl.
Yeah. And I think and I think, unfortunately, like, they had a really big stage to play on as well. I mean, it was aired on ABC on a football Sunday at 11:30. Like, that's a great stage to have a great game. And I don't know if part of that kind of got to people's heads a little bit of like those nerves and like, oh, we have to put on a show and stuff. If it did, that's a big bummer because no coach or teammate or anyone should be like putting that much pressure about how it's streamed. You know, like that shouldn't affect or be like the top priority. But unfortunately for people that did watch, it was not super fun to watch. And I kind of wanted to watch football instead, which I don't usually like to say.
But yeah, we usually don't talk like that.
No, it just wasn't super fun. Again, another great game. Should have been a great game. Good job to Nebraska. Louisville, you can do it. I know you can. You do it other times.
Yeah, I hope they find a little bit of a spark. I don't know. I just feel a little bummed out. And I will tell you, I had a hard time watching Anna DeBeer yesterday. Or what was that, yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Yeah. It was hard to watch.
It was. And I felt bad for her, honestly. Like,
I do too. She just looks miserable.
Yeah, we've all been there. It doesn't feel good when you're not playing and you should be playing well. And, you know, if you're kind of the soul of the team, you know that it's everyone's having eyes on you and you know that your mood and how you're playing is affecting everyone else. And then that just puts you in a worse mood, and playing worse is when you start thinking about it and realizing, and then you're in a spiral and you can't really do anything about it. And so I think that was kind of Louisville's kryptonite, is they got in that rut right away and they could not get out of it. They started to at the end of the third match, but it was the third set, and it was way, way, way too late.
Yeah, big bummer. But also, I mean, Nebraska looked crazy good again. So they had an incredible week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let's get into Player of the Week. So that was a grim way to end our sixth, but it needed to be said. And I meant everything I said. I think watching Anna DeBeer is like really going to kill me. Like, I can't do it. It makes me so upset and sad. So let's do Player of the Week.
Okay.
Would you like to start?
Sure. Okay. My Player of the Week is a team that we didn't talk about this week. Shocking.
Oh,
No.
Oh, I'm scared we're going to have the same one.
My Player of the Week is Sarah Franklin.
No! That's mine too. Okay, go. We probably have all the same things, so you take it away.
Probably. I mean, she had a phenomenal week. She first got named Big Ten Player of the Week. And hold on. Oh, sorry. I was reading. Over the week, she was averaging 5.6 kills per set, which is crazy. Oh, hitting over 400 of 427, and was averaging 2.8 digs a set. She had, what game was this against? Against their game against Marquette, was that she had 33 kills, hitting over 500 and 8 digs. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. For an outside to be hitting over 500 in general is insane, but to be doing that with 33 kills is crazy. Even in a 4-set, like, that's really hard to do. Yeah. And then she goes on and gets her 1,500th kill for her career, which she did against Marquette as well on the 17th. And that was actually, when she had 33 kills, was the most kills in a single match by a Badger since Dana Rudke in 2018. So she's just racking up the honors, racking up the records, all the things. And watching her play, I know in the beginning when the Badgers first got Sarah Franklin, we didn't really like her. We thought Kelly Sheffield really honed in and catered to her. And now I'm like, thank you. Please cater to her more. Yeah. Like, I am a fan. I've changed my tone. I think she is a very well-rounded player now, and I understand why she got National Player of the Year last year, and I think she's grown even more since last year. I think her defense and her serve receive has really come a long way, and she, considering that the Badgers have a freshman setter who's on and off, right? It hasn't affected Sarah Franklin. Like, she is still able to get the kills. She's really shoddy now. Like she's throwing in the tips and the rolls and the cut shots and the line shots and doing all the things. And she's just a spark player and she's just playing phenomenally. And I haven't really seen her play bad yet this year, which I'm hoping will continue. But I think she's just having fun, right? It's her last year playing, and she had a crazy injury that led her to almost not play ever again. And now I think she's just like really enjoying it and is not like taking anything for granted. And I think you can see that in her playing, which then in turn is making her super successful. So she is my player of the week.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I think she's the anchor. I think she's the soul of this team right now. She's a leader. And I think she just, the first few matches I watched her in of the year, I was like, she just doesn't look like she's having fun, and she doesn't really look like she's like enjoying herself. I think maybe she felt a little bit of like that heavy weight on her, that pressure on her, being a fifth year, this being her last year. And she's really turned that around. I think it makes the difference for Wisconsin, right? I think she's kind of a ripple effect right now. She's who they're turning to. She's who they're relying on, and she's handling it with a lot of grace and strength. I agree. We were a little skeptical of her at first, but she's definitely proven why she was the player of the year last year and why she's on the road to being it again. So I was really impressed with her, and I'm excited to see how she continues to be that kind of stillness, that anchor, that reliable factor for this team when they head into conference play.
Yeah. Great. I love when we have the same people.
Me too. I know we didn't talk about Wisconsin, so we had to sneak it in there somewhere, right? Okay, let's talk about our start and bench really quick, and then we will just kind of run through top 10 at least of the rankings, and that'll be it. So let's do start and bench.
Okay. You want me to start?
All right, bench. You want to do bench first?
Yeah. I mean, we already kind of talked about it, but my bench are sweeps right now. My bench is a sweep, a ranked sweep.
I love
like stop it, get it out of the way. At least take it to 4. Something. Give me a little bit more good volleyball other than a sweep, because not only are they like getting swept, but they're not good sweeps. You know, it's one thing, and Jack actually brought this up to me. He goes, "Is it worse to get like swept and it's really close, like it was still a good match, or worse to get like swept and like this shit kicked out of you?" I was like, it's hard because yes, it's a sweep and you see that on your record, but then it's like, but it was so close. Like it was a 31-29 sort of thing, 25-23, like it was good and the ball just wasn't falling on our side of the net. And that's not even what we've been getting, which is really unfortunate. Like that's what, if it was going to be a sweep, at least make it like an exciting one of like 10 lead changes, 8 ties in the game, and it's going over
28-26.
Yeah, things like that, especially in those ranked matches. Like if it's not going to be a 4-setter, a 5-setter, like thriller, make it a good sweep. But it hasn't been. It's been just like, we know who's going to win from the first point, and then it's not exciting anymore. So my bench are ranked sweeps.
My bench is tied rankings. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Like, come on. I was looking at the new rankings for this week, which I'm kind of jumping ahead, but USC and Tennessee tied at 20. Just pick one.
Exactly. Like, give someone the 21.
These are all voted on. They're all voted on. So do a tie. What are you doing? Tied at 20.
Flip a coin to end the tiebreaker. Like something. Rock, paper, scissors it. I don't care.
It doesn't matter right now. Who cares? So stupid. Like, these are voted on. Just pick one.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't.
It's just like, these rankings just, they irk me so bad. But like, I saw that, I was like, okay, it's at 20.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if it was at 10, I'd be like, okay, because then, you could say we're a top 10 in the nation. Like, okay, you're 20, it's number 20. Like, who cares? Like, just pick one. Like, you could have just said, you know what, we're just going to put USC. We're going to put USC up there, and we're going to put Tennessee at 21. Nobody would know. Literally nobody would know. I just was like, it's so stupid. It's just one of those things about these rankings that you're just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I
I thought it
mean,
was goofy. It just really bugged me. Like, why?
yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
why?
I think the rankings are rigged, to be completely honest.
Oh, yeah. We'll
Another
get into
reason
that.
why Louisville's whole situation pisses me off, because granted they moved down a
Yeah.
spot, but mm, they don't move
One
much
spot.
ever. Like, no matter how good or
One.
bad they played, they don't move more than 1 or 2 spots up or down, which is crazy to me. Because then you get one team that gets swept by an unranked team, and they move down 4 points or 4 slots. How?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can
Yeah.
someone get on here and explain it all to us, because it really doesn't make sense, and I would like to understand, so I'm not so harsh on them. But
Yeah,
like,
like right now these people are like the bane of my existence. Like, what are we doing?
it it makes me so mad, right? Like 1, 2, 3 makes sense. Even 4, right? Makes sense. Below 5, like 5 and below, don't really make sense to me.
No, I don't understand. They'll never drop below top 10.
I don't think so. I don't think they ever will. I don't think they'll drop below 8.
Yeah, I just think there's other teams that deserve to be higher, but that's just me, I guess. All right, let's do start, and then we'll go run through these and try to end on a positive note.
My start of the week is Nebraska's TikToks and their TikTok and John Cook's TikTok game. I'm not a big TikToker, but
I was
against,
gonna say this is a big deal coming from you.
I mean, I think I've more so like seen them throughout social media and stuff, but again, the Nebraska Louisville game, John Cook had a black eye, and everyone was wondering. And during the press conference, it was Lexi and Harper, and they were like, "No, no, no, you can't tell him, you can't tell him, you can't tell him. We're gonna reveal it on their TikTok, on his TikTok." And I've seen a few press conferences with him, and how the girls have essentially made his own TikTok and like forcing
Yeah.
him to make these videos and be a part of it. And then he's like now actually getting into it and realizing he can make money off of it and all of this stuff. And I think it's just so cute and so funny. And it's just another way to really enhance the culture and make things fun, right? When you
Yeah.
get into the thick of it in the middle of the season, things suck, right? You are exhausted, you are tired, there's injuries, there's losses, there's wins, you're traveling all the time. And having those little 10 minutes of being goofy with your coach really break that up. And I think that's another thing to Nebraska's culture that has changed. And in the Nebraska documentary, John Cook, when he first started, he was always like, I didn't think I needed to have a relationship with my players to be a good coach. And he soon realized, like, no, I need to. And I think this is a way to connect with the younger generation, is making TikToks, right? He's getting older, the girls are getting younger, there's a bigger divide with him being a coach. And to be a good coach and a connected coach, you need to get to their level. And I think this is the best way to do it. And I think they're having really good success, and they're funny.
Yeah.
Like, they make me laugh.
Yeah, I don't know like who's the ringleader of it, but they are really funny. And this is kind of from like a marketing perspective, like this is kind of the that sports are moving and sports teams are moving, is not only are franchises being marketed, but players, coaches, cultures, like that's being marketed. Fans want to see this. This is what they're waiting for. This is why they tune in to watch you play. Like it's something that's really interesting to see kind of flip, like especially when you're kind of looking at like the professional sports, like, you know, your NFL, your NHL, you have these like post practice, practice mini mics where they're asking questions. You know, of course, like Travis Kelce's always go viral, like his El Travador moments and everything. Like we're seeing these players that are put on a pedestal at a very casual level of them just being themselves, being funny.
Yeah.
And fans are like fiending for that kind of content. Yeah. That's what they want to see. So I really think it's big of him to be like there's a good chance he looked at Harper Murray and he was like, okay, like if you want to do this, like let's do it. And he's going to go all the way in on it. And I think it's really great. And I think that this is the way that the world's moving. So for him to get on the bandwagon is only going to help with recruiting. It's going to help with fans watching the games. He's obviously going to be making more money from it. So I definitely agree with you. I think it was the right move, and they're doing very well. His last one has like 737,000 views or something. Like, it's massive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fun. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's not as exciting, and you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but my start is ABC Network.
I have that. That was my second. I literally said ABC
Is it really?
match on Football Sunday.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, ABC had the national championship last year, which was Texas and Nebraska. That was a huge deal to be on ABC. Obviously, ABC's owned by Disney, so it was a big, it was a big deal. Like, this is a huge platform. But this was its first ever regular season NCAA volleyball match for the number 5 Nebraska and number 4 Louisville match on Sunday. And yeah, a major network. Now, I asked my dad about this. ABC does Monday Night Football, so it didn't take the place of any games. But nonetheless, for a major network to have volleyball on NFL Sunday is huge, because if your team's not doing well, you might be like, I got to get off this channel for a while. You could throw some volleyball on because it's right there. It's convenient, right? So yeah, I agree. I just think this was such a cool thing, and it's really nice to see that it's continuing to get bigger, right? We're seeing more games on ESPN, more games on the Big Ten Network, more games on the ACC Network, games on ESPNU, ESPN2. Now we have games on ABC. Like, it's a huge deal, and it was really exciting to see. And I just loved how easy it was to watch. I thought the commentators were good.
Mm-hmm.
The stream looked great. Like, I just loved it. It was really nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they did a good job at the time slot that they put it on, 30 minutes before the first, kickoff, which it kind of overlapped. But I think if people wanted to watch volleyball, they were going to watch it first because they were already in the second set by the time football was starting. And so it's like, well, let me just finish the match, let me just finish it, and then I'll turn on football because it's going to be a few hours. And I think you hit it with the commentators, like having good commentators and good quality production really makes it, because there's games like I'm watching on Big Ten Network and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't listen to this. Like, this is horrible. Like, these people don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, the sound is horrible. Like, please get better, And so I think when they have it on a big network like that, they really do a good job at finding people who know the sport and who know how to talk well and can do really good color commentary and have good production, because otherwise people are going to turn it off so quickly. Like, I've muted Badger games before when the commentators have no idea what they're talking about, because I'm like, I can't listen to it. It's so bad and it ruins it. So we'll just sit in silence.
Yeah. One thing I love too that we're kind of seeing become a little bit more of a norm is commentators are understanding the amount of new viewers coming into the game, and they do a lot of game breakdowns, right? It started kind of with explaining, I've watched games where they explain the rotations. So here's zone 1, here's zone 2, here's where they're serving when you're seeing coaches giving numbers and giving signals. And then now they've had it where the down into a microphone to say, Nebraska is challenging that the ball was out when the original ruling was in, or how the touches work, or they're explaining these challenges like you're kind of talking to like 6th graders or 7th graders who are learning the game. And I think that's so great, because I would love that for a football game. I would love that for a basketball game. Like, what do you like? What does this mean? Like, I don't know what this means. So I just think it's really nice that they're acknowledging that there's a lot of new people coming in. Volleyball is a complex sport to kind of understand, and it's really confusing to watch when you don't understand why girls are there and then they're here, and why you can't, like, what does this mean? And there's a lot of things that are happening. So I think it's really great that commentators are kind of taking that next step, and networks are taking that next step to explain the game just a little bit more. It's really subtle. It's more like during challenges or in between sets or during timeouts. But it's really appreciated, and I even kind of like it, and I know the rules. So it's nice to kind of hear them like talk about it, or if they have a commentator who maybe isn't as like knowledgeable, it's nice that they educate each other as well. So it's really kind of a nice thing to see.
Yeah.
I just like that they're acknowledging the fact that so many people are starting to watch volleyball now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's, one of the big things with having good commentators is that educational piece. You know, a lot of times they have been talking about the new rules, because if you've seen the sport of volleyball years ago and then you're watching it again now, and there's two liberos and you can challenge net calls and there's no doubles, and you're like, wait, what's going on? That's not the same rules. They're explaining that and explaining why you can't challenge one thing versus another, and it's because it's subjective and this and that. And I think they're doing a very good job with that overall, on all of the broadcasts. And I think having past players being some of the commentators, I think is super helpful too. I love to hear their perspective of it. Sometimes their talking skills aren't the greatest, but they're getting to it. But I think one of my favorite commentators is Emily Eman on the Big Ten. She's been doing a great job, and it's nice to hear what she has to say, considering she did play for the Big Ten. And I think just like football, you know, you want to hear the guys that have played and they fully understand the game. Same thing with volleyball and any other sport. You want to hear from the people that have been there, who understand, know what it's like to play in those big matches and in those big arenas. And so it's nice when you can see that. Or I know Mac Pedraza was commentating on one of them the other day. I was like, oh, I didn't know she was doing that. It's nice to see her and hear her from her perspective.
Yeah, it's nice to see that kind of end moving forward too, because it kind of starts there a little bit. And, you know, that's like a big part of, I think, football, and a big part of basketball, and a big part of even hockey. And so to be able to enjoy watching the game while subtly being explained, like, here's why this is being challenged, here's what's being challenged, instead of a bunch of hand movements, I think it's going to help people retain that and want to keep watching, because they start to understand, right? It's exciting for like us to watch football when we do understand like why this is happening, or we do understand what the language means. And I think it's the same for a sport that we're on the flip side of too. So it's nice to see that moving forward. Okay, let's round out really quick by talking about some of this top 25 that came out today. So in case you missed it, AVCA rankings come out every Monday afternoon usually. So Pittsburgh stays at number 1. Not shocking. Nebraska, number 2. Yup.
Not surprised.
They had a crazy week.
Yeah,
they had a crazy week. I knew this is where they were going to be sitting. Obviously, they took Stanford's spot at number 2, but then to also sweep Louisville. I mean, if Pitt wasn't having the year they were having, Nebraska could have been at number 1.
Yeah.
I think people are pretty pissed Nebraska's not at number 1, actually, but it makes sense why it's Pitt. Like, I agree with it. It should be Pitt. Stanford just dropped down to number 3. Penn State drops to number 4, which I feel like is not bad for what happened. Louisville just drops down to number 5. And moving on. Creighton is at number 6. Wisconsin remains at number 7. Texas remains at number 8. Kansas moves up to number 9, and Purdue is at number 10. Oregon is at 11 too, which I think is important to know heading into Big Ten conference play. Some other noticeable ones: Kentucky's at 12. Arizona State's at 14, which I was kind of like, whoa. Florida's at 15. Minnesota's at 16. Baylor's at 19, and then you have your tied for 20. USC and Tennessee. TCU's at 22, which I feel like they maybe should be a little bit higher. SMU stayed in the top 25 at number 23. Dayton at number 24, and Miami is back at number 25. Kind of exciting stuff. Nebraska moved up 3, Creighton moved up 3, and BYU moved up 2. So not as much movement, but quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna look up some notable matches here to round us out.
I have some pulled up. So conference play does start this week. For the Big Ten, it starts on Wednesday, and we just hit the ground running. Purdue plays Penn State at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, and we have a border battle. Wisconsin and Minnesota play. We haven't really heard much from Minnesota recently, so it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be a pretty good match. I think Wisconsin will up, but I think it'll still be pretty good. We have Miami and Florida State playing, and then Arizona State and TCU also on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we have some more Big Ten. We have Iowa and Rutgers playing each other, and Northwestern and Maryland. Friday, we have Nebraska playing UCLA. We have Stanford and Notre Dame. Let's see, an Oregon and an Illinois. We have SMU and Georgia Tech playing.
Ooh.
Yeah, we also have Kansas and Houston playing. Houston's not ranked, but they're always pretty good. And then Saturday, we have Purdue and Minnesota playing at 5:30. Florida State and Miami play again. Wisconsin and Northwestern, Indiana and Oregon. And that's it for Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have Pitt and Georgia Tech, which
that's going to be great.
I think that'll be pretty good. We got a Stanford and Louisville. Ooh. If both teams that played Nebraska play each other from Stanford and Louisville, that might be a pretty good game, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. I'd be excited for that one.
And then we have some more Big Ten, Michigan State and Penn State play. We have Kentucky and Florida playing, which I think will also be pretty good. Tennessee plays Oklahoma, and USC plays Nebraska.
Ooh, Allie Batenhorst plays her old team. Ooh, yeah, I'm watching that.
Yeah.
I'm watching that for sure.
Yeah. So those are really
okay. Great. And we will have those up on our Instagram highlight. I'll get those up ASAP. So those are there. So where to watch, when to watch. Those are just kind of our picks. We usually follow the ranked teams. Those are probably the bigger ones and easier ones to find. So we'll have those posted. But other than that, that wraps up National Volleyball Day. I think we did great. We talked a ton about volleyball. You know? Awesome. Well, as always, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week.